All right, Single 40 podcast. Let's go. Today we finally made it back to Manila. We're stoked, and we have a guest today we're fired up about. It's Eric from Videolux. So a little background on how we came across Eric a few years ago after COVID was kind of ending. We started searching YouTube, trying to see how everything recovered over here, like what was open, what was closed. And, looking at Makati in that area, your channel came up. And we instantly identified with you because there's a lot of expats and retired guys and, that whole realm of content. And not that it's bad or anything, it's just not really us. And then we came across yours and we're like, all right, this guy's cool. This is like what we're into. And so, instantly became fans of the channel. This was before we started a YouTube channel, though. So some of the stuff you were making kind of opened our eyes up to like, why don't we do this? So you inspired us to get started. And we started about a year ago. And I always had the goal of doing a podcast, too. So you being like our first other YouTube channel guest is pretty cool for us. So let's do this. So we'll start at the beginning with you. So,
Sure.
where you're from, how you got here.
Well, thank you for that, for having me, for one.
Of course,
I
man.
appreciate that. This is a bit of a new opportunity for me, and yeah, I've been making videos a long time, and yeah, you're right. The landscape of the type of guys making videos here has changed and multiplied over the years. And when I first started, I just realized the other day it's been 11 years for the channel, and
That's awesome.
and I had no intention of doing YouTube. I didn't even really know what it was. But like you said, how to get started. So about 12 years ago, I was corporate US. I was, oh God.
So let's go back to how did you get to the Philippines?
How to get to the Philippines.
Like, how did you end up
Corporate
moving
US.
here? Okay.
Corporate US said, we want to send you to the Philippines to start up call center operations here. So I'd been a call center ops manager, and then I went back to school for project management and then data science, and then I was running analytics for big teams back home, and they said, we need someone to set up, KPIs, SLAs, all the stuff for the Philippines teams. We need a full quality control system. So they put me in a new job, and they sent me to the Philippines 4 times a year. So every quarter I'd come here for a month, and that's how you get around like sort of the work visa. You can work here if you're working for an American company getting paid American dollars, but you don't overstay your 30-day, visa. So for 4 years they sent me here. I made 16 trips to the Philippines.
Wow.
I was in the air like 160 hours a year, man.
So before you came, like, what was your knowledge of the Philippines? Like Manny Pacquiao?
My first wife's my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law's wife was a Filipino, and that was like all I knew about the Philippines. I'm like, oh, they're small and brown. Like, where's the Philippines? Like, I surprisingly I knew very little about the Philippines.
And then you were blessed to come here for work.
Yeah, and after coming here and Corregidor Island, and even being a World War II buff, like, there's a lot about like what United States and the Philippines and the history, especially World War II. MacArthur is kind of well known, but so much of it is suppressed. Like, they don't teach Pacific War, theater like they teach, Mein Kampf and all that nonsense, like, in school. So like I was sorely undereducated about the Philippines, and coming here for the first time, man, really opened my eyes.
That's awesome. So when did it become I'm living in the
All
Philippines
right,
full
so
time?
4 years in, corporate started to get wiggy. They're like, yeah, we might not send you there as much anymore. And like at the time, I had a girlfriend here, and I wanted to marry her, and I was going to adopt her child. And I love this little kid, and I raised that kid for 3 years. That back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and she started to get nuts. She's like, you're not coming back. I think you're going to dump me. And I like. Listen, 12 years ago, I was what? I was in my mid to late 40s. All right. So I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like 60 pounds overweight. I'm not that tall. I'm bald. And I'm at the point where girls are like, well, stand him on his wallet. He gets taller, And I'm like, I'm not ready to date grandmas. I'm sorry. And that's all that I was dating in the U.S. And I had been coming here for 4 years, and I was running numbers, always running numbers for corporate. And I started to realize the cost differential was so beneficial for Western, earning whether it's dollars or pounds or whatever, that I'm like, let me run some numbers here. I'm like, sell the house, sell the car, sell the bike, reinvest in this, downsize on that, bank the corporate salary for a year. And like, I'm like, you know what? I can retire in the Philippines, live relatively large, and manage that until, I'm ready for actual retirement, Social Security, pension, all that stuff. So
So I gotta back up a second. You were 12 years ago. You were in your late 40s.
yeah,
How old are you?
I just had a birthday this weekend, I think it was. Thursday. I'm 57 years old.
Dude, you look fucking amazing for 50.
That's awesome.
I'm 45. Glenn's 44. I would have
crazy.
guessed you're our age, if not younger. That you take care of yourself. That's badass,
Yeah, I rejuvenated in the Philippines. This whole ageless body, timeless mind thing.
dude. I
It
love
does
it.
it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
Philippines
that.
No,
does
I mean that's kind of our story too. Is like I was 280 pounds overweight,
Yeah.
working in a corporate job, not knowing what I was going to do with my life, and then some friends took us over here, and it just changed everything for me.
Changes everything. Like, it was probably like same thing for you, man. Like, I looked at myself in the mirror one day. I'm like, you know what? I got less good years ahead of me than behind me. So, and I knew the whole Agenda 2030 thing was coming. I don't want to talk about that because I don't want to get you guys, banned.
Please don't. We're too new.
But my point is I knew things would be changing, and I'm like, I got to get out before it's too late for me to get out. And I did, and it was scary, man. I sold everything. I took the plunge. I quit that job. I've been at that company for 17 years. I was making money. Like, I had no debt. It wasn't bad, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah, that's the key, right? I mean, happiness isn't always about money, or it's
really
about
not.
your surroundings, right? And what
Yeah.
you do every day and the people you're with.
Yep, people you're with and what you do for yourself. And that was part of the other thing. Like, I'm like, I don't want to look in the mirror and see that anymore. So yeah, I dropped 60 pounds.
That's fucking awesome. I can't believe you're 57. I'm tripping out about
No,
that.
some days I wake up, I'm like, wow, the 60s, like 3 years away. I'm like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
So I got to ask you then, what's your secret? Because you go hard.
I do go hard, and sometimes that I wonder, but I think the secret is very simple: 0 processed sugars, ever. So alcohol sugars metabolize completely differently. You can remain in a ketosis state and still process alcohol sugars. Granted, it'll halt ketosis while they're processing, but it won't put you into that glucose state, that spike state where you're constantly trying to recycle glucose for energy and boosts and that kind of thing. So it's kind of about remaining in ketosis. At one point, it was hardcore keto, like no bread, no pasta, no rice, no anything other than if it was green, you'd eat it, and it was protein, you would eat it, and that was it. You try to get a lot of fats, good fats, avocados, extra virgin coconut oil. I'll do this. I grind up like ginger root with turmeric and lemon juice and make these health concoctions and drink. Oh gosh, like extra virgin olive oil and apple cider vinegar.
Well, you
and
just totally changed the way you ate.
yeah.
It's funny you bring up the
eating.
glucose thing. I just read a book called Glucose Revolution. It talks all about that. But I mean, this is the proof of what your diet can do for you.
Yeah, it makes an incredible difference.
Walking around at 57 looking like you're
Yeah.
fucking 30.
And then,
Staying out all night.
Staying out all
Right,
night
right.
partying like he's fucking 18.
and then the other part of that is push-ups. You got to be strong. Like, you got to have muscle. You got to maintain muscle quality and bone density. And I just read another startling statistic that I researched recently that kind of woke me up. It basically said there's a correlation between your thigh, like your quad size, and your length of life. And not just the length of life, but the quality of your life in that last, just to say 10%. So you also got to change how you think about aging, right? So long story short, Deepak Chopra's book, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind, basically says we're programmed to think of aging in a certain way. We say, oh, every time we go around the sun, I mean, if that's even a thing, like you're a year older. And that means, oh, subconsciously you're a year closer to death. So when I was like 30, I'm like, screw this birthday thing. I'm not even going to think about it anymore. Year doesn't mean anything to me, right? Age doesn't have to be equivalent to a year. So then you start thinking, oh, well, I'm 40 years old, I'm middle-aged, boo-hoo, poor me. No, you're not. You're middle of what average life expectancy can be, but average life expectancy is not potential life expectancy. It just seems, I go around basically saying, look, people live to be 120 years old, right? So
For sure.
middle age, 60, I'm not even middle age. So why should I look, live, or act like I'm middle age?
Well, it's mindset. So.
Yes, it's a lot of it is mindset. You got to deprogram what you think is aging. You got to cut out the sugars, and that gets rid of like the inflammation. And then the other thing is electrolyte water, right?
I just had one before you came
Yeah,
out.
like potassium, magnesium, zinc, like there's a lot of stuff, and eggs. Like God, like there were days I was eating like 18 eggs a day.
Wow.
Eggs are like a miracle food.
Yeah, we were just talking about
No,
eggs.
we're all into this same thing. It's crazy. It's like, no wonder we aligned with you so quick that we have this. It's the positive mindset's the biggest thing too. Like people getting that victim mentality and people living that silent desperation, and you got to get the hell out of that, right?
Absolutely, man. And I was actually watching your podcast episode 5 earlier, and the whole positive thing. You're absolutely on about that. Like you were talking about community, you were talking about making relationships, and just going for it.
No, I mean that's one of the reasons we identify with you so quick. Negative sells, right? And it's like you look at a video, it's like don't watch out for these scams in the Philippines, or I had a great time in the Philippines. People's minds are set to look out for the risk, right? Because we're risk adverse. I mean, even in caveman days, we're worried about getting eaten by animals and whatnot. So that sells, and I understand why people do it, but it's like that's not the path like we want to live, right?
Yeah, that was one of the things Travis Kraft showed me like years ago. Like he would do those reverse psychology videos where you'd be like, these 10 things suck about the Philippines, and it's like he's getting hundreds of thousands of views. I'm like, what? Why? So I've done a few videos like that over the years, and mostly I just get Filipinos telling me, if you don't like it,
Go
then
home.
Exactly.
That's what we always talk about. Like these guys get on there and it's just they move to the Philippines for a reason, right? Because of the affordability and let's get real. Look at this old man and he's with this young girl that he could never pull in his own country.
Yep.
And it's like, so then you're going to bash the place that provides you with that?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like the Philippines is not. It's not a walk in the park. It's a beautiful country. It's got incredible options. It's affordable on so many levels. But it's not the Western. This is not your Western, barbecue backyard zone. Like
It's definitely
it's not easy to live here.
But it's that circular economy, or however you want to phrase it, that creates that environment for you to live like that.
I agree.
Without
That's exactly
that,
right. Without that, you'd just be
living in the U.S. across the ocean.
you'd be paying Miami prices.
So you mentioned in one of your videos I was watching that you weren't a nightlife guy.
No.
Back in the States, or
No.
back when you were young even.
No, I was not. I was I used to play in a band. I like rock music. I was a classically trained musician, and we used to, if you know what I mean. So we didn't really drink because we were just constantly inhaling, and we didn't do nightlife. Like when we had when we did gigs, we went out, we played the gigs, we went home. We practiced a lot, and every now and then you go down to the corner pub with like a couple boys, and craft brews were a thing back then, starting to be a thing. So you drink like a Hefeweizen or something, and that was it. We never did clubs. That stuff was expensive.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, and it was also like clubs back then were like a rave. It felt like a rave. Like everyone was doing X, and like just like nah, I don't have any time for that.
So what got you into nightlife in the Philippines?
You come to the Philippines, and the culture here is just. If you live in Manila, there's not a lot you're gonna do besides like your work, your gym, and hanging out with your friends. And like we were at her place her friend's place yesterday actually, and they were hanging out and doing karaoke and playing pool and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And they got drunk and I fell asleep. Like I'm outside on the porch sleeping because I'm just like, it's too chill for me. So when we go out now, like especially through the lockdown, like lockdown was tough here, and like you're inside, like we were locked down literally 22 hours a day for 3 months straight. Like we lived in a condo like the size of this hotel room, and I don't know how we even killed each other. And at that time, you're like, I need to get out. I need to get out. I don't want to hang in anyone's condo anymore. I don't want to take a walk in the park. Like, all you did was walk and sit in your condo. And when things started opening up, we were out. And what we realized was just because the Philippines has opened up internally, like 98% of the expats in the Philippines left the country. There were like 15 guys left in like Makati and BGC that were like out. So like I got to meet this guy, and then she meets this girl, and then that girl's friends with this boyfriend with this guy. Because the guys, let me tell you, man, they had their pick of the Filipinos. There were like 15 guys, and all the Filipinos are like, I'm single. So every guy had a super hot girlfriend. All the girlfriends got to know each other. We would go out to places, let's just say, that were officially open and places that were unofficially open. And we all got to know each other really well, and it became a community. And that community was always meeting up at one of the couple of places that would be open, or not unofficially open, let's just say. And it became like a lifestyle. So like we would go out, we'd be like, we've been cooped up all week. You barely allowed outside for only shopping and a walk, unless the marshals catch you, and then you got to pretend like you're shopping. And then you can go out, but if you want to sit at a table for 6 people, it's got to be a 12-seater. So you're like, bro, like pass the salt, like I'll go long, like at the end of the table. Like this is ridiculous. So at some point, the bars would open up, and you could go into that bar any night of the week, even if curfew was 8 o'clock. Like we go out at 4 o'clock when curfew was 8. And there'd be like 1, 2, 3 of the guys that you would know that would be in there, or his girlfriends would be in there, or she would come out, or whatever. And like, that's what we would do. Like, let's go out and see some of our peeps. And after a while, the Philippines started opening up again, and we just kind of kept rolling with the nightlife
Nice.
thing. And then bottle service too. Like, I never did that in the U.S. I didn't even know it was a thing. But here, like, I don't want to say his name. Let's just say one of our boys here was just like, you go over the table, he was like, I got a bottle of Belvedere, he's got a bottle of Jameson's, he's got a bottle of, like, in this giant ice tub thing, and he's like, have a drink. I'm like, don't mind if I do. So he started, this is how you do it. Like, you could buy, beers if you want beers, you can buy drinks if you want beers, but dude, just get a bottle, and this is how it works. And then we just started doing that.
Well, it's affordable here too.
It is affordable.
So we live in Honolulu, which is a big party city, but you don't catch us out ever in the United States.
It's got to be so expensive.
But part of it just the tribalness of, I know there's fights happen here, but nothing like in the U.S.
No.
at like nightclubs, like that
God,
whole,
no.
which in my 40s, I don't want to be around a bunch of, 20-year-olds throwing hands. So,
No. And you don't see that here for a couple of reasons. One being that most people that are savvy enough to get themselves to the Philippines realize that if they get in that kind of trouble, they're going to spend the night in the drunk tank, which is not a nice place to be in the Philippines.
I would imagine.
We drove by the Makati City Jail the other day. I was like, oh, no way. And then they're going to get thrown out of the country. It's like you had to spend what? It used to be $1,200 round trip to fly here. It's probably like twice that now. And you spend $1,200 to get here, $2,400 to get here. You're staying in a hotel. Maybe it's a nice one, $50, $80 a night, whatever. And now you're getting thrown out of the country. It's like, no. And probably thrown out persona non grata. Like, in other words, you're not coming back. So guys know this. They don't come here to fight. They don't come here to flex. They come here to meet chicks or lady boys or whatever they're into and party.
I just remember the one time I did see a fight at a bar here. It was up in Angeles City, and it didn't turn into a fight, but it was 2 guys basically arguing. And I just remember thinking, like, everyone's going to get laid tonight. Like,
Yeah.
well, why are you mad?
Right. What is the problem?
We're all here for the same thing. Like, enjoy.
And I see that in guys sitting in clubs all the time, like at a table like this. Like, I'm like, what's with the sourpuss, man? Like, you're in the Philippines. There's like a 4-to-1 ratio in this spot.
Oh, no, for sure. So at what point did you decide to start filming your escapades, if you will, and your nightlife stuff?
That's a great question. The filming happened because when I was coming here for corporate, I had just completed like 5 years of training in a pretty prestigious Kempo karate system. It was a fighting system. So I was a first degree American Kempo karate black belt. And the guys in the studio would say, you got to go to the Philippines and learn their national fighting style, combat arnis. They said it's the most deadly fighting style. They send the United States Marine here to knife fight, like all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I find a guy, Quezon City, Grandmaster Alan Fami, runs combat, I can't remember, Kalahi, the Kalahi system. And he takes me on. I think I paid him $1,000 a lesson 3 times a week for the 4 weeks I was here. So I would have 12 lessons over a month. And he was teaching me so much stuff that I could comprehend it, but I couldn't absorb it. So because I had the black belt, I understood like when he would say something about angle or, principle or, alignment, like it registered, but I couldn't remember everything. So I said, can I start filming what you're teaching me? So when I go back to the States, I'll practice it for 3 months and I'll come back next quarter and then you can test me on it. So while I was filming it, I was also uploading it. And I was looking for a platform online. At the time, YouTube was the only one that let me upload like whatever it was. It was like Vimeo or YouTube, and Vimeo was crap in the Philippines. So if I wanted to upload stuff for my girlfriend and the guys back home, I had to do YouTube. So I started uploading stuff. And it was the worst, man. The old video was remember flip cameras?
Yeah.
Flip. It was so shaky and just so terrible. And that's why I ended up buying a GoPro Hero 3. And my next trip to the Philippines, I had this GoPro Hero 3. I strap it on my head. Now we're like double stick fighting. And in that fisheye, it was looking like, what do they call that? First person shooter. Yeah. Like you would see the knife come out, like a little hand, right? And GoPro at the time was like, who are you, dude? Like, what are you doing? Like, nobody's doing that. And then they started talking to me about sponsorship, and I was like, that's a thing. And then, weeks after that, YouTube's like, you're monetized. I'm like, that's a thing. Like, so I just started learning about it, and they invited me to some conference in Washington, D.C., a YouTube creator conference. And then I realized what YouTube actually was. And from that day forward, I have probably uploaded a video a week.
Wow. Well, it's like a gold rush, in my opinion, when it comes to content. And most people tell you, like, oh, there's so many people doing it. But if you look at, like, the basic supply and demand of it, there's so many more people just consuming it, right? Like,
I agree. And that you know what, that brings around some points about, like, what you guys are doing. It's completely different than what I'm doing. So the other thing, like, I don't know if you might have seen Chad from CB Media.
oh, yeah. No, I
He's
love
like-
that guy's stuff.
That guy was one of the guys we started.
Yeah,
following.
you and him, about the same time, we discovered both you guys.
And it's weird. So, like, Chad rolled in, got to be 2 years ago now. And, like, I just bumped into him at a bar. He's like, hey, I know you. And I'm like, really? Who are you? Like, nice to meet you. Have a beer. Like, whatever. And then, like, I started to realize who he was. I'm like, geez, Chad's huge. Like,
Huge channel.
but so down to earth, so chill. And there's a reason why I brought up Chad. Oh, yeah. So one of the things Chad started telling me was like, look, it's all about niche, man. He's like, I do cars. He's like, cars is global. He's like, you do Philippines. He's like, Philippines is not global. He's like, when you first started, you might have been like, a fish in a pool with a couple of other fish, but now you're a fish in a pool with like hundreds of fish. So like the YouTube, like the Philippines YouTuber thing, like you were saying, it's like, how many, like,
Well, there's a ceiling to it.
there is a ceiling, but there's also like how much of that stuff falls into, like, I can't watch probably 90% of the Philippine, what they call vlogger types.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're like, the Filipina girls like you going down. It's like, let me think. Yeah. Okay. Next video. It's like, or it's like, don't do these things with your Filipina, or BGC is so wonderful. And every thumbnail it's like, dude, you're a grown man. Like, am I supposed to do that on my YouTube? No. It's like, no. I'm a dude that walks around with the camera. I like the Philippines. I showcase the Philippines. But it's a small niche. So that brings me back to what you guys are doing. Like, it's just very interesting. Your perspective on it, your take on it, your methods, just the fact that you have like a production team, like, I was starting to think to myself, I'm like, what kind of videos could I make if I had like a guy on a camera and a guy like, with a light, like, you guys are set up. I like that. And then we'll talk about that. Talk about that on mine.
No
I'll
doubt.
interview you guys later.
No, for sure. Yeah, so for us, like I totally realize the Philippines it has a ceiling on it and it's small, and I mean part of when we started, it was just we'd be in the bar partying in Angeles City, and I'd pull out my phone and due to the fact we were friends with a lot of people that worked in these places and we spent a lot of money, they let us catch some film, and it would be me just sending it to friends that were trying to talk to come visit, and so that's all we started with at the beginning. But then looking around it, just like, and Angeles City's even a smaller niche, right? And everything was just negative, and everything was negative about the girls and all the people working in the bar. And it's like, we just couldn't wrap our head around it because we have such a great time there and everyone's so good to us. It's like, why are they always making everybody look bad? So we started kind of falling into to that path. And then it just grew more into the, like how you changed your life and, the positive mindset. And it's like, that's, I think, the long-term play for us, and that's where we want to go. I mean, right now is obviously we're spending most of those types of times in the Philippines, but eventually it's just a whole lifestyle. I hate using the word lifestyle brand, but it's kind of the best way to describe it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a lifestyle for sure. The brand is definitely part of it, especially if you follow Ty Lopez types. Personal branding is like what they're saying is the bomb for 2025. And Single at 40 is, that is a brand. Like that is you guys.
Cool name, right?
Yeah, it's great.
So a friend of mine, a Colombian guy, awesome dude. When we first started making some of those little films, I sent one to him, and he's like, "Oh, it must be nice to be single at 40." And just the light went off. I'm like, "There you go. That's the name, bro." So we ran with it. But yeah, I mean, the thing for us, we know it's going to be a long, slow play because it is different, and you know how YouTube's all set up. If you're going to do a camera review, you're thrown out on the algorithm for anybody that searches Sony or whatever.
Yep.
So nobody's literally searching for what we're doing. So it's a long play, but we'll take the long path.
I think some people definitely search for it. Like you also do the Bangkok scene. We won't really talk about it today, but like if you guys are interested in understanding why they're successful and why they have a completely different approach to what we're doing here than I do, it's that episode 5 of this podcast series. Like I think it was called Filming in Clubs, right?
Yeah.
Like filming in clubs is rough in the Philippines, but like it's not just, hey, can I film in your club? It's like, hey, can I have a good time in your club? And like these guys seem to really tie that together well, and I'm thinking about giving it a shot.
But, I mean, that's how we built it. It was creating the relationships with the people.
Yeah.
And then the filming was just okay. Like it wasn't,
Right.
Thailand was different for us because we don't have the
Right.
history in there. But it's funny because like we talk about in the podcast, we're walking around, there's signs everywhere, like no filming.
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other like this ain't going to work, right? So then we just gave up on it. And we're like, let's just do us, like what we do. Sit down in front of a bar with some girls. We had our big crew with us. Start spending money, having a good time, meet the manager, meet the mama sons, meet the waitresses, and next thing you know, we're inside the bar partying and okay, can we film? Yeah, go ahead. And it was like, you just got to stick to our fucking script.
Yeah.
Like,
You're handing out T-shirts.
Yeah, handing out T-shirts.
No, by the way, thanks for the T-shirt. I definitely encourage you guys, anyone out there that's like thinking about doing this or just having a good time in a place like Angeles or Barreto or Bangkok or Manila. Watch episode 5 of this podcast series. It's some straight up smart advice.
Appreciate
on
it.
how to
Appreciate it. We do got to talk about your Angeles video though.
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't want to throw curveballs at you, but I was like, damn, he doesn't like AC because that's where we started, right? So, and I understand what you're talking about, but yeah, no, we have a lot of fun there. So
Yeah. I'm not saying AC is a bad place, and I'm not saying we didn't have fun at AC because we definitely had some fun.
Sure.
Different.
I'm just saying it's a different speed. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm spoiled with Manila or when it comes to AC and of course Subic, Barrio Barreto, they're very very similar. It's strange. I love Barrio Barreto, but I'm not crazy about AC. And like when I ask myself why, it's like, well, Barreto's on the water. It's right on the sea, and it's like Angeles, just smaller and cheaper. So like, how do you not like 50 peso beers on the beach? And $8 surf and turfs, like that's hard to beat anywhere in the world, I think.
No, we went to Subic years back before we started filming, and we had a great night there. And I remember getting the bill, and I was just like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah.
Like I had to give it back. Did they miss some drinks?
Right.
Like it was like a couple thousand pesos, and we were there for a couple hours
Yeah.
buying all the girls' drinks, just having a good time. So yeah, Subic's a cool spot, definitely. But I mean, I'm sure you are spoiled because the nightclub and dance club scene in Makati, Manila is nothing compared to AC. But
Right. What was the one? The Mega Dance.
yeah, that's the big
Yeah.
one there.
Mega Dance has a very similar vibe to some of these Makati nightclubs. It's just that your I would say clientele, your patronage is a little different. The girls that are in there are probably going to be a higher percentage of freelancer types, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Next question.
Definitely the customer base is different.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
And obviously in Angeles, you get a lot of the old retired expats, a lot of ex-military, U.S. guys and whatnot. Nothing that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just definitely a different group than you see like P. Burgos Street. But let's get into like how you started the tour business you're
Okay.
in, because obviously this trip we're probably not going to make it, but we're going to set something up with you and have you take us out on your service.
Yeah,
But
it's been a while since we've been out in Makati. But
Yeah,
I definitely
yeah.
want
I'd love to take you out. So again, it kind of started as an accident. A few years back, YouTube started its membership program, and I would say at the time I had content that I couldn't publish on YouTube because things had been, let's just say, restricted.
we ran into that problem.
Right. But I had content. So I'm like, well, why don't I publish this content but put it behind the paywall? So when you set up the membership, YouTube actually sets it up for you and they pick the tiers and the tier pricing. So I'm like, well, whatever the top tier pricing is, I'll just publish this stuff for that. And at the time, guys were really interested in content like that because there was so much restriction of this type of activity in the world due to, let's just say, global issues. And I started having dialogue with channel members. I'm like, well, so you get extra videos, you get free videos, you get me talking like straight up, no like fluff around the Philippines. I might be a little more positive on public YouTube videos, but I'll give you like a really hardcore synopsis of certain elements in members only videos. And guys started contacting me, and I was like, all right, well, contact me. And yeah, if you're coming to the Philippines, like, hook me up. Hey, you're a channel member, you're paying every month. Like, let's go out. So we started going out, and I would bring these guys out, and like, I'd meet like my other buddy and this guy, and they'd be like, hey, there's three of us, let's get a big table tonight. And we'd all throw in to get a table. And then it became more and more. And I'm like, look, I can't keep up. I'm like, how's this sound? Yeah, you're a channel member. I'll spend a night with you. I'll show you around. I'll wingman you, but you get all the expenses, right? And then like I'm like, well, if you're paying for it, I'll bring some girls. And then it just became again too much to keep up with. Like guys were like, hey, how about this date? How about that? I'm like, sorry, I'm booked that night. Like some nights I'm double booked. Like I'm like, shit, how did I book two on the same night? I'm like, I gotta get the girls. I'm like, you take that group out, I'll take this group out, and somehow figure out how I'm gonna make a cameo.
It's a good problem.
So
to have.
right, it's been great. But it got to the point where it was so much. I'm like I gotta put a premium on this. Like guys that really want to come out, look, this is what it's gonna cost. Like you gotta pay me X amount. Technically, you're not paying me, you're paying her because due to the terms of my work permit in the Philippines, I don't work in the Philippines. I don't accept money in the Philippines. I don't accept pesos in the Philippines. If you have a business transaction with me in the U.S., you go through my U.S. bank accounts. But if you do it here, it's through her company. So yeah, like I started farming her business, and I'm like, well, yeah, if you're going out, I'm going out. So what I realized then was that there are some serious guys out there that want to definitely throw down. They don't want to mess around. Like there are guys that are like, oh, I'll pay you when I get there. And I'm like, no, sorry, it doesn't work that way. You want a consultation, you're a channel member, I'll give you the consultation. But, otherwise you got to pay for a consultation. This is US based business, or I can't accept Philippines pesos. So no, you can't pay me when you get here. And I would say out of the last 4 times where I was a little wishy-washy about that, every single guy that didn't pay up front, whether it was through her PayPal or through my U.S. bank accounts or whatever, they didn't show.
Yeah, yeah, no. Basically, it's just buying your time, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
And I'm very easygoing. Like I've taken guys out from just about so many countries, like and so many different walks of life. And that was like the other thing too. Like we were thinking, like, there's been no angry drunks, there's been no aggressive guys. I get Australians rolling in all the time. Like everyone's a happy drunk, so it's like it's always good. It just sort of happened. Everything happened, and then I was like, look, I would literally do it for free for channel members. Why not? And I just can't. I can't keep up with it.
No, it's a good service. And like we talked about on our 5th podcast, the one before this, we got our single 40 team in AC, and there's a couple guys that we met through the bars that work at the bars, and we were trying to talk people to meet up with them because you just bar find them like anyone that works in those bars, but they provide security for the first part, and then they take you to wherever you want to go. They know people, you get treated better. It's just, it just makes sense. And I see why guys are lining up to hire you. It makes sense.
It's like having a tour guide and a bodyguard.
Yeah.
Not that you need a bodyguard in Manila, but you do kind of need someone to tell the Viagra salesman, no, thank you, and the kids that are begging, no, thank you, so go to Mama Yacht, that kind of thing. Or if they want to roll with freelancers, look, this is, if you're going to negotiate with her, like this is a script, this is a protocol,
money,
right? If you aren't sure if she's a freelancer, like, there's so many, or I want a bar finder, or like this is the thing that kicked me the other day. Like some guy's like, I got ripped off in bottoms or in lips or something. And I'm like, I guarantee you lips is not running a scam on you. Like, did an extra beer or two show up on your bill? Man, it's possible. But just because you're buying $18 bar girl drinks doesn't mean the bar is ripping you off. It just means you don't understand how the protocol in the bar works.
You just don't understand the game.
The game. So that's why I tell guys, I'm like, look, you book a consultation or you come here, I'll take you out. It's like, I'm going to save you more, like 10 times more than you would lose your first night in Manila, just like with one conversation.
So you're like us, though. You came up through the School of Hard Knocks.
I did. I came up through the School of Hard Knocks.
By learning on your own, and that's what we did. And fortunately for us, financially, we've gotten stronger over the years through our careers and whatnot. But when we first came, it's like we had to learn the hard way. And I remember me and Glenn would be sitting there and we'd do bill checks because we'd be partying, buying everyone drinks. Like you said, and we knew the drink scales and everything, but it can get away from you real quick,
it gets away real fast.
So we'd be like, all right, this is our budget for tonight. We got 50,000 pesos.
So many people are coming up. You're just like, like,
have a shot, whatever.
Exactly, trying to have a good time.
So next thing you know, you're going back to the room to grab more money.
We would check, like, how much do we owe? All right, we still got money. We still got more partying to do. But no, it's valid advice, and I see why guys are lining up to do it. I recommend it. Like that was what we were talking about in the last podcast, and you got the whole Makati, P. Burgos on both sides. The girly bars to the nightclubs to that whole scene. You seem to have all that locked up.
That's it's a great area. It's always even more up and coming. Like the more I learn about it, like. There were nights I'm like, oh, same old Makati. But other nights I'm like, it's just so vibrant here. And there's so many little hole-in-the-wall spots or little boutique spots. And like, and the classic spots. Like, there's a lot of stories to tell in Poblacion Makati. And even in BGC. Like, BGC is just, they're a hop, skip, a jump away from each other.
That Buccaneers place looks super cool.
Yeah.
That's like our style.
We have a lot to still see.
It's a great little party bar.
That looks like a lot of fun. Every time you posted about it or you've done a video and you're there, I'm always like, dude, that's the place we got to hit.
Definitely.
I like that style more than like your Xylo or the big nightclubs. That's more our speed. We did check out Xylo. It's a beautiful club, awesome, but that's not really our scene. More the
Xylo's not my speed either. For a couple of reasons. One, it's ridiculously expensive. Two, it's next to impossible to score chicks in there. Three, I I don't know, it's way too damn cold. Like, it's nice that the club's air conditioned.
Dude, I like got sick, I think.
freezing.
Dude. I was like, we're like up in that corner by that big old AC.
It's like, what the? Now, it's better than being sweaty, but it's just so damn cold in there.
So
Yeah.
how busy are you? Like, is your service open 7 days a week?
Yeah,
or
pretty
you just
much.
work around the customer's
Pretty much,
schedule?
I work around the schedule. Like, I'm like, if you're booking, I'm going out. This time of year, it's some nights, it's 3 to 5 nights a week.
How do you? Obviously, you can't just go bend or blackout every night
No.
when you're doing this for a living, right?
It looks like that.
What's that
on a lot of the
balance?
videos. The balance is halfway through the night, I need to be like, all right, flag, like start drinking ice water or start drinking Red Bulls or start drinking.
You even talk about it on some of your videos, like you're switching to ice
Oh my
water.
God. It's like, no, you got to make the switch. And then sometimes, like at the end of the night, like it's been like 5 a.m. sometimes. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll start drinking whiskey again. Like, because we don't go home till like 8 or 9. So it's like, it's the when you drink all night long without taking that 2 to 4 hour water break where you get into trouble. And then at 2 or 3 nights of that, and you're just like, I don't even know if I can drag myself out for another night. And then you get into the bad place. And I started to get to this. It wasn't this year, but it was last year, last December. I'm like, I knew I would feel better once I had a couple drinks. And I'm like, that's not a good place to be.
No, definitely not. So the switch to water, no, that makes perfect sense. So out of all the tours you've been doing, are they all relatively pretty awesome, or have you had some negative customers, or?
I can't think of anyone that has had. First of all, I can't think of anyone who hasn't literally called me the next day or that same night or whatever. Like, bro, epic. Like,
That's awesome.
we have
cool.
great nights out. It's hard not to in Manila, especially when these guys are dropping for big VIP tables and stuff, or even the guys that don't go with tables. Like, we have a good time. So the most challenging aspect is that guy that gets really super friendly when he's drunk and thinks everyone's his pal. Like, I had a guy from, I can't remember where he was from, but he was European, and he was just like, I don't care if you're a girl, I don't care if you're a boy, I don't care if you're somewhere in between. He's like, we're friends. And he would be going up to tables and be like, hey, how you doing? What's up? I know you. Like, girls, come on, sit down. Like, to the point where the bouncers are like, I'm like, I got him. And now I'm following this guy around, and the bouncers are like, look, 30 minutes and he's out. And then I got to tell him, I'm like, look, it's not like you're doing anything wrong, but you're a little aggressive. And they're going to throw you out, so it's time to go. He's like, nah, I'm not going. I'm good. I'm like, yeah, you're good if you sit and stay in that seat. So that's literally been the worst. That's not even worse. That's just like the most challenging element of it. It's almost every single time it's a good time.
Because that's what I was curious about. Because like the saying, not all guys can handle Vegas. It's like
That's-
not
it's
all
very
guys
true.
can handle Manila. But that's good that most of the people that you actually
Yeah.
end up dealing with are pretty cool.
I've had 1 or 2 that have passed out too. And I'm just like, do I need to take you back to the hotel or are you good? He's like, I'm good. I'm like, all right. And then like an hour later, I'm like, you ready for another drink? He's like, let's go. Like, and I've done that. Like, I've passed out and I've been like, I need like 20 minutes of my eyes shut and then I'm good to go.
So obviously the channel has to feed that business, yeah.
Yeah.
And then referrals, I would imagine, is probably pretty
Yes.
big.
Well, not so much referrals because I've had a few, but people come from so far and wide that it's not like, hey, I'll tell my buddies when I get home, and then my buddies will come. And it's also the Philippines. It's not cheap, and people have busy lives. How do you got to structure yourself to be able to get 2-3 weeks off from your real time life,
sure.
right? Like, that's not easy. There is a niche of people that come here and they know what they want to do when they come here, or guys that are like watching videos like yours and mine and saying, I want to try that. Like, I'm single at 40. Like, I want to go, but they're like, I don't know where to start. And then they come across a guy with me, they're like, man, I'll get you set up. And that's the thing. Like, you could roll into Buccaneer solo. Either you guys, you look young, you look fit, you got hair, you're not afraid to buy a bottle. Like, you could have some game in that spot, and you don't need a lot of hardcore game in Manila because people are friendly. So I say you never get shot down in Manila, because all you're doing is saying hi, right? Like you go up to someone, hey, how you doing? It's like she's like, I'm not interested. It's like that's cool. I'm just saying hi. Say hi to them, then, you know. So like, but if you rolled in to Buccaneers with me and her, and like now she knows 3 girls that are in the bar, and I know a couple bros that are in the bar, and then they come over and they're like, hey, where you from? And like, yeah, I'm from Hawaii. Like, oh, cool, man, I'm from Miami. Like, nice to meet you. What business you in? It's like, me too. And then now when you're rolling with a crew, especially a crew that, you know, girls that live here, guys that live here, or guys that are visiting that have similar considerations or outlooks, of like, hey, I'll be in Boracay next week. Like, hey, man, so will I. Like, all right, cool, let's have dinner one night, you know? And that's why I call it the Videolux community, because it really has become a community over the last couple of years. And that's also what I like about Single at 40. I said these guys do it different. And what I meant about that is like, what do you call it? You call it your team?
Yeah, no, it's Single at 40 team, and then the girls are the Single at 40 Angels. That's it.
See, that's what I like about that. Like, I never went that route, and I think that's smart. It's good.
But it's exactly basically what you've done, just created a community. Like a bunch of the Angels are girls that we party with there for a decade.
Right.
And it's like we show up in town and, you know, the first question people always ask, oh, do you guys hook up with all of them? It's like, no. They're just our friends. And they come out with us and we have a great time. And we bring the party, you know, to the wherever we're at, whatever bar we're at, we just bring it with us.
The thing I like about that is it's the details of how or where I learned it or practiced it, but there was, let's just say, a seminar I took once that basically said declaring communities. You can declare a community. And once you declare a community, you can essentially create leaders inside that community. And leadership isn't like, you know, waving a sword and charging forward. Leadership is being able to create leaders inside your community. So that's what I like about that, you know, Single 40 team, Single 40 Angels. Like, if you look at their Facebook page, like they don't even need to post on it. Like, all the people that are in Angeles or part of their team or the Angels are posting. And I'm like, that's powerful. Like, that's creating a community, and creating a community is where it's at. I think you guys.
No, appreciate it. I'll
Definitely
shamelessly
appreciate it.
plug our. Have you seen our tattoo video?
No.
So check it out when you got time. So this tattoo, Hawaii to
Oh,
PI,
I did see that somewhere.
There's like 60 people in Angeles that
Oh,
have
really?
this tattoo.
That's crazy.
So once a friend of ours from Hilo, Hawaii, that we met over there, he designed it, and he's a pretty dynamic guy. He has an orphanage over in the Philippines. He's back and forth all the time. He designed the tattoo, and he was like trying to create, you know, money for his orphanage. So we went and got it, and then a bunch of the people on the team wanted it, and I was just shocked. Obviously, you know,
Sure.
we're paying it, and then we got to know the tattoo artist real good, and it's just like when we show up, there's a line of people to get the tattoo.
That's crazy.
So
That's cool,
it's
though.
like this crazy little tattoo community. Anyways, I had to throw that in there. So where do people find you? Like how do they find you? Obviously, you know, Videolux at YouTube. Where else can they find you?
Well, there's Videolux on X platform, X social. There's Videolux on Facebook. It's Videolux on Instagram, and Videolux on YouTube, and probably some other places. I do it hashtag it's Manila Baby, but really it's X, X formerly Twitter, right? Instagram.
We'll put all of
YouTube,
them in
all that
the
stuff out
description of this thing for sure, and the hashtag it's Manila Baby.
Yeah, it's weird. Like on the YouTube channel, all the links are always in the video descriptions. I actually have a little website page. It's kind of like a landing page that talks about how to contact me directly, or a little bit more about like the nightlife tours or the consultations. And it's weird. Like I don't really. Well, I kind of despise the Meta / Facebook platforms for lots of reasons, but I don't do a lot on it. If I'd have done anything differently, I would have created a community page. Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah,
Is that what you guys have?
that's
right?
what we have.
Yeah. So the community page is definitely the way to go. X, most thing I do about X is just like try to keep up with current events that aren't skewed by mainstream media.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I'll post stuff though. Like that's why I tell guys, I'm like, if you want to know what's going on, like follow my X, not because I'm like posting my latest video, but because these dudes over, you know, in the global forum this year are basically telling you by the year 2030 you're going to be limited to one domestic flight every 3 years, kind of stuff. Like, this is the kind of thing like you might want to keep up on. Now I'm not saying that's going to happen, and I'm not saying it's on the UN website, but there's enough out there to make you want to keep up with it in the event that you're thinking about making a move like I did. It's like, I want to sell everything. I want to move to the Philippines. I want to get married. I want to have a life. You might want to move on that.
No, we talk about it all the time, and I mean, we could probably do a whole nother podcast just on this topic, but the shutdown and that whole nonsense, it's like none of us ever saw that coming, right? And we were set to come to the Philippines that March. Like, we had been here earlier in the year, and then, like, I tell the story, one of our friends who was supposed to come with us called me up, and he's like, dude, it's about to be a global pandemic. I didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
And it's like, no, bro, we're going. Like, I don't give a shit what's going on with this thing. Like, we're going.
Right.
And I remember I was at the gym, and I was on the treadmill, and I'm watching TV, and the NBA shut down.
Yeah.
And that was like, holy shit, like, this shit is real. Like, and anyways, just getting into, like, governments and the power and control and all that. Like I said, that's a whole nother topic. We could talk for hours. But you're right. You need to be aware of it, because if you have plans, I mean,
right.
at the end of the day, how free are we, you know? So it's like.
Exactly.
No, I told him.
Definitely got to appreciate these trips like we get, because you just
totally.
never know when they'll be.
And interestingly enough, Instagram, I don't post a lot on it. Like, I used to post, you know, probably like a picture at least every week, if not every day. Like, I have billions of pictures from the Philippines. But what I do is, like, if I'll go out, like, say it's, you know, Friday night, it's early Friday night, we're in the first spot, like maybe we're out for dinner, I'll do like that quick 9 to 12-second little story reel, and then I'll put some text on it, be like, hey, it's Friday night, kicking off here, and then people that live here, people that are in town, friends of ours, community members, whatever, they'll see the post. They're like, oh, you're in BGC tonight, and then they'll message you, and they're like, yeah, but we're gonna be a Royal later. Oh, cool, I'll be a Royal, or hey, can I join? Like, I'll throw in, you know, and it becomes very more of like a local social network than my Instagram blowing up. I mean, there's nothing like.
It's just back to the community
right,
thing.
back to the community
We're
thing.
just going to keep coming back to that, because that's what matters.
And I mean, you know, I guess there's always metrics and numbers and subscribers and all that stuff. But if I was going to give anyone on YouTube advice, and I've been doing 11 years, I also got shadow banned for speaking out against the narrative. That's different.
Let's not get into that.
Don't talk about your politics on YouTube.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
What you want to do is, I mean, focus on your members. And boy, there was another piece of advice there that was great. But you know, besides the normal consistency, focus on your members, quality as much as you can. But don't worry about your subscribers. Don't worry about your views. Don't worry about a lot of that stuff, because that algorithm's always changing, and the metrics are always changing, and they're basically saying like subscribers are a vanity metric now. Like, what used to be subscribers on YouTube is now important on Instagram, and there's other stuff that's important on YouTube. Watch time, like I'm up to 14%. 14% of my views. Only 14% of my views come from subscribers.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that with ours. It's kind of crazy.
It is. It's like,
but
weird.
The thing we try to stick to, that we've heard other YouTubers and, you know, different advice from like people like yourself, is like, just stay authentic and just keep creating. You know, like,
stay authentic. Yeah,
like just be you, and just keep doing what you're doing, and you know, don't you know, try. I mean, obviously your members and the people watching you matter.
Oh, yeah.
But just keep being who you are, and eventually, you know, it will work.
Yeah, I mean, as when he laughs at be authentic, it's like, that's me drunk as a skunk. Baby.
But that's why people like your stuff.
Right.
You're not fluffing it up. You're not trying to be somebody you're not. Like, some nights you're slurring your speech, and some nights you're talking about drinking fucking ice water.
Yeah,
like,
you're
just
doing
being
tire workouts.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it's like, that's the other thing. Like, I saw some video the other day, guys, like, I'll never stop drinking. And he's like, but I'm going to make sure I stay fit enough to keep drinking. I'm like, sounds about right.
Fair enough.
Gosh, you said something that was really interesting, and I kind of slipped my mind. Yeah, YouTube's an incredible social opportunity. It's been a great journey. I never really planned for any of it. I'm happy to kind of see where it takes me. And
So for people starting a channel or thinking about it, we kind of talked about when we were walking up here to the room, like if you were a camera guy, because some people grow up, in theater and, being in front of cameras and crowds. Like we weren't. I found out you weren't.
No.
So, I mean, what's your advice behind that?
You struck it when you said authentic. And this is what it reminded me of. When I got past the initial, I'm making videos for the guys back home for the combat our niece training and maybe a couple of videos for my girlfriend at the time because I missed her and we were sort of partial long distance relationship. I realized I didn't want the videos to be about me. I wanted the videos to be about my experience and about the Philippines. So experience in the Philippines. And it's completely about being authentic. Like a lot of times I'll say, I'm just a guy that walks around with a camera. But at the end of the day, when it comes to all the editing and the voiceovers and the scripting and thinking about a lot of that, you're not just a guy with a camera. But at some point, you're going to look at that camera and just be you. Sometimes I feel like I'm so practiced at it just because I've been doing it for a long time that I'll pull up the camera, I'll say a bunch of stuff to it, and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, that sounded not like, I'm like, ugh. That's just it sounded polished or scripted or something, but it was just real. Here we are, it's Makati, we're gonna bang it tonight. Boom, channel member night, let's roll.
Well, that's why authentic's important because,
Yeah.
I mean, this has probably happened to you, but one thing, we work together, obviously. Glenn does all the editing stuff, and, I'm obviously one that likes to talk, but we'll get a video together and we'll think it's the best video we ever made, and it does nothing.
Right.
And then, we'll put another video game and we'll be like, I don't know, and then it'll blow the
Blows
fuck up.
up. I have that same
Yeah, I'll
thing.
never understand.
There are videos I put up, I'm like, ugh, this should just be members only, because I'm embarrassed. And then it's
does
a
well.
huge video, and then I'm like, this next video was so cool, and it had this great drone shot, and it gets 300 views. I'm like, what's going on? But interestingly enough, that takes me back to you guys also have a mission statement.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
thought that was fantastic. I don't think
Thank
I've
you.
ever heard of a YouTube channel with a mission statement. And
I'm glad you read it.
yeah,
I don't think anybody was going to look at that thing.
check out the channel for all that. But I realized that I actually have something too, and it's not a mission statement, but it was the reason I've always made videos. I used to do wedding videos. I actually had a side business making
nice.
videos. I did vacation
remember
videos. I did
you.
all kinds of stuff.
We'll keep going. With
Yeah.
Technical
I liked making
difficulties.
videos. I made videos as a hobby, and I realized that the reason I make videos, besides the simple fact of hey mom, I'm on the beach, kind of thing, it's my living memoirs. My video journey, especially on YouTube, are literally like my living memoirs.
I love that because that's something me and him always talk about. No matter if nobody ever watches this shit,
Right.
we've got it for us.
Yeah, you're gonna look back
You
on a video you made 8 years ago, be like, oh my god, I remember that.
Great
And
time,
and you will watch the whole video and be like, my voice sounds different, everything's different. How did I look so skinny, or how did I look so fat? You're gonna get transported back to that day, that time, that night, that girl that just walks by in the background and be like, geez, I remember her. I hadn't thought about her in 8 years,
So for us, this is actually lucky number 7. This is the 7th episode
cool.
of our podcast. So all of our podcasts that you've seen, they're usually 20, 30 minutes. And I knew this one would probably go long because we got an intriguing guest. So obviously our lights are failing the battery, but
You can break it into two.
We'll keep going. We'll keep going.
So, I always find it interesting when someone contacts me and say that the video inspired them, whether it was me or the video. And you guys kind of had a little bit of element of that. You're like, we've been watching for a while. We watch what you're doing, thinking about making our own YouTube channel similar. And I've had guys that have literally been like, I'm going to do exactly what you did. I'm going to move there. I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to move there. And I'm going to start a life there. I'm going to do all this thing. And I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, cool, man. Let me know when you're here, right? And then 2 weeks later, this guy's like, I'm in Makati. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I moved here. I'm like, geez. I'm like, I'll come out and meet you, He didn't even do a consultation. He's just like, nah, he's like, I'm done. And then he's like, I'm going to get a condo in BGC like you did. I'm going to get a girl, named Betty like you did. And then like, 6 months later, like he's got a girl named Betty and she's pregnant. And I'm like, now you're having a baby here? Like, and the guy, like, he just bought a house. Like, it's crazy.
Well, you live by a couple parts of our mission statement. Like one of them is just to inspire people to get out of their comfort zone, do something. You live that life. And then
important.
giving without expectation. I mean, just from all the people and the community and the friends you've made, you're obviously a guy that gives without expectation. So, I mean, it's just funny how we can pick up that we aligned with you just off watching videos of yours, but it's like then we sit down here and talk, and it's like we have a lot of shit in common.
No, we're flowing good.
So it makes it fun, and it's just when you find other people that have interests like you and people that are pushing the same thing, and that's what's so fun. It's like you said, you inspired a guy to move here. He moved here in 2 weeks. It's like you had that life-changing event coming here. We did as well, and it's like I just want that for others. I want people to realize like you're not happy, you're overweight, whatever. You're in the rat race. Like there's another way, and it's like just take that first step, right?
Right, and it doesn't have to be the Philippines.
Oh no, not at all. Just whatever it means. Like just get a passport and go to Colombia. Go to a different state. Just get out of your comfort zone and do something that's uncomfortable and just taste the fruits of that labor.
Yeah, like the statistic that says something like 50% of people never move more than 30 miles from where they went to high school.
So it's funny you say that. So me and Glenn both grew up in California. I've lived in Hawaii for 15 years, and the one question I always get from people back home is like, "Do you ever get island fever?" And it's like, "Hey, motherfucker, you live on an island. Do you ever leave that 8-mile radius of your house, work, your grocery store?" It's like it's the same. I'm just surrounded by a beautiful ocean.
Yes,
you're surrounded by freeways.
That's actually very insightful.
That's the reason why I was able to move to the islands, and it's pretty much easy. So.
Right.
The other thing, you're obviously an athlete in martial arts. We played college football. Football is our thing. Sacrifice creates happiness and joy. Like you have to put in hard work and do uncomfortable stuff to truly find joy and happiness. That's what I think. I would imagine you probably agree.
Yeah, it doesn't come easy.
No, but once you achieve something, it's like then you open up your eyes to achieve something else.
Yes, that's that whole, try and then succeed. All right, cool. Try, succeed, good. All right, try, fail. Okay, right. Try, fail. All right, next. It's like doesn't matter if you succeed or fail. You got to have that super positive relationship with success and failure. And most people don't have a positive relationship with failure because you're taught, oh, you failed, you're bad.
Well, in martial arts, I'm sure you get humbled all the fucking time.
Oh. I have been kicked on my ass.
And the discipline of it, between the discipline and the failures, like you find your happiness, right?
Yeah, like I tell people, for every one punch I might have landed, I got punched in the face 10 times. Easy. Like probably 100 times.
And that's life in general, right?
Yeah. And some people can keep coming back from that, and some people can't. And even the people that can, like, you need a coach. Like, sometimes you need a coach. Like, the coach is like, look, I know I punched you in the face 10 times tonight, but just think, last week I punched you in the face 20 times, so that's a 50% improvement. I'm like, oh, yeah, good job,
No, needing a coach is a great point. Like, I love that. And that's why we looked at your channel. It's like, look what this guy's doing. You were a coach without being a coach directly to us, just by watching what you were doing. And hey, we can do something cool like that too. Yeah. We'll live our life, but the path you were setting, motivated us to like, let's go try that.
I appreciate that. The other thing I like about what you guys are doing, well, there's two things. First, whatever that camera is fantastic, man. It's got amazing night vision color. Like this little camera is just not cut. But
this little thing,
yeah, that thing, like,
it's actually pretty cool because it's pretty good at night.
Fantastic,
and
man.
Fits in your pocket, and
I feel like I'd break it, but then again, I'm sort of a lush, so no.
I mean, the GoPros are easier because
GoPros are fantastic,
but
their night sensors aren't that great.
Well,
yeah,
you should try
ones.
her. Get one of those cameras.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure she's got a big family, or find a younger guy or gal.
Right, just carry the damn thing around.
That's basically what we've been doing.
I mean, we got two young guys. I mean, we pay them well,
Because I mean, the last thing I want to do is party and
it's cheap.
I don't want to be carrying and filming while I'm drinking.
That's exactly that's what I'm afraid of. Like we hire, we got a couple bouncers that we hire out of clubs and bars and stuff. Like we're paying.
They'll grab the camera for you.
like 1,500 pesos.
Just have them
a
roll
night.
with you.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
basically.
It's like
that's it.
1,500 pesos in dinner. I'm like, that's another 1,500 for these guys. They're huge. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But the other thing I like is you get inside the establishments. Like so many of these YouTube channels are just guys like, I'm going to show you Makati. And then they walk down the street. They're like, here's a bar. I learned that it has this in it. Here's another bar. I'm like, no, go in. Show me, what'd you order? Like, how much does it cost? Like, who's in there? Like, is there energy? Is it dead? Like,
I can't stand the hidden camera shit
Yeah.
either.
Oh,
Like,
there's that.
Be a
Yeah.
fucking man. Like,
yeah. Right, hidden cameras. It just feels like you're being sneaky.
which is crap, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you give the people opportunity if they don't want to be on film, but let
Right,
them
right.
not be on film.
Right,
you know?
right.
And the Filipino culture, from what I've seen, they're pretty goddamn open to it.
Yeah.
You walk up to people in bars in the U.S., you're probably gonna have trouble with a camera, right? So that's one positive about filming here.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason people don't want to be on film here is, well, maybe they have a family. Maybe they have a
Yeah,
conservative family. Maybe you're not in the best part of town. Maybe they're wearing a bikini at night.
Whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. But you got to respect it,
Or
right?
maybe the guy is corporate or he has a wife back home. Who knows? It's like, look, one of the things that we always just say, don't ask, don't tell. Like, what happens in Manila stays in Manila.
Awesome quick story. We're in
don't
Bangkok. We're in Soy Cowboy in Bangkok, and it's that day where we had that bar where they started letting us film, and we went back the next night to film again. And there's a gentleman sitting next to us, and he comes up. He's like, "Hey, are you guys going to film right here?" We're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll just leave," and we're like, "No, we'll make sure you're not in anything." And he's a super cool guy from Australia. So we start talking to him, and then I noticed like, there's a woman with him, a white woman. And I'm thinking like, what the fuck's he hiding for? Is this
Right.
his wife? So I just asked him, I'm like, hey man, is that your wife? He's like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, why don't you want to be on film? Because of his job
Yeah.
and their careers, whatever he explained. But I just thought it was cool. It was like, him and his wife were doing their thing. Awesome people. Ended up
Right.
partying with us a little bit. But yeah, everyone's got their reason to not be on film. You got to respect it.
Yeah. Like, there was a long time where she didn't want to be on film. Like, she was just like,
What?
It was, I think
You're the
that's-
star of his channel.
I know. It's like people aren't watching this mug. But the reason why I think we talked about it, it was lockdown. Like during lockdown, people got super camera shy here. They're like, they would literally think, and I believe it had happened at some point where if they saw you on social media in a bar or like not 6 feet apart or not wearing your mask or something that they deemed
Government
against
come after
the
you.
totalitarian fucking regime, then yeah, they would literally look you up and be like, you're in trouble, you're getting fined, you're getting deported. Like,
Crazy.
so people went nuts. Like, they're like, no cameras, no. Like, when you would go into a club, even if it was like legally open, you knew you had to sit 6 feet apart, you knew you had to wear your mask and then take it off to drink and then put the damn thing back on, like because of science, of course. And like, they would take your camera and they would wrap tape around it, like just tape up your camera
So
lens.
nobody
Like,
would
not your
get
phone.
caught,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
your phone. They would take your phone and wrap tape around it so your camera would be blocked. It was just,
Crazy.
it was crazy.
So you got a tour tonight. You're taking some people out tonight.
We have no tour tonight. We have one tomorrow and Saturday.
So where are you taking them? What's the plan?
Friday night, it's gonna kick off. It's gonna do a little bit. It's weird because we start early. It's gonna be a 3 p.m. start, which is actually a first for me. So that really just means go-go bars. You go to the go-go bars early to meet the hot girls. And then it's gonna be dinner. And then it's going to be a party bar, probably something like Buccaneers. And then he's going to want to do the nightclub. And that's going to be it for him. He's not going to manage after hours. He has a flight, I think, to Davao or something. And Saturday night is a guy that we knew from the last tour, actually. He was here in September, I think. And he was an interesting fellow. He'd already booked a tour guide, a companion, let's just say, and she was kind of taking him around, and like they both showed up, and he was like giddy, like I guess he was happy to meet us, and we're like slapping him on the back, and we're shooting pool, and we're doing shots, and the next thing you know, he's like, I'm buying, and like we got a VIP at Octopus, and then he's like, another bottle. I'm like, no. It's 4 a.m, bro. Like, if we're going anywhere, the next spot, you buy the bottle there. He's like, we're going, like. So like he must have dropped like 50K that night. And I'm like, thanks, man. And he's like, don't say thank you. Like, I'm like, okay. He's
Showed
like,
him a
we are
great
brothers.
time.
We are brothers now. He's like, you cannot thank me. It is not acceptable. And I'm like, ah. I'm like, I appreciate you. Like he's like, I appreciate you. So he's been messaging me on and off, and he's like, I'm coming back the 21st.
Round two.
He's like, let's party. And I'm like, all right. Like you're buying, I'm drinking.
That's badass. How are we doing on battery?
Good. I mean, like 30% across the board there. So.
Awesome.
You guys want, but
So any I don't know. You guys have any deep dark questions? Any off the record stuff? Any Videolux exclusive?
No, I mean, I have to admit, I have not signed up for your members only. I'm going to, but I was about to do it before you guys showed up, but I was like, no, that's a bitch move.
I
Like,
think
tell him to his face, we haven't paid for it yet, but you're going to.
You know what? Never even crossed my mind.
For me, honestly, I want to see what the difference is. And then, you know, if we were to go to do that, like,
Right.
obviously we have some footage that we can't put on, and we've ran into the yellow versus green and all
Yep,
that stuff.
yep.
So
Yeah,
I am curious about what that looks different compared to your regular channel.
A lot of it is yellow versus green, but some of it was just like at the time it was relevant but wouldn't have been prudent for public YouTube. So like, I mean, going back now, some of it's like, you know, I have that I called it the premiere, you know, series on my channel, like episode 1, I think I have 50 episodes of what I call Manila After Dark up. And if you go way back, like you'll see how incredibly different it was, you know, and then you'll look at the year that it was posted and you'll figure out what was going on at the time. And that was a thing, like, how are you guys doing this when the world is like this? It's like, well, I'm like, it's the Philippines, you know? Like you can pay for stuff here that you can't pay for other places, you know? People will, like, and Angeles City was like off the grid at the time. Like guys were like, if I can get to Angeles, I can actually have a life. Because Manila might be like lockdown hell, or BGC would be lockdown hell, Makati would be open, and Angeles would be like off the grid. Like there was all kinds of stuff going on.
Do they allow nudity on the members only stuff?
Yes, they do. But they'll flag it still with the 18 content, which is
a standard, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, we're not really filming nudity, but sometimes
Right.
the party, as you know,
Oh, yeah.
gets wild, and
No,
you know,
I had.
you got to hit the cutting room floor with that
I
stuff.
was shocked. Like a video the other night, and just in Secret Door, there were like panties dropping, man. Like, I don't know if you saw that, but I was like, oh, nice.
There you go. You got to sign up for this guy's members only to get
check it out.
the real Makati in Manila, for sure.
no, I'm definitely excited. We gotta book our.
No, we're
night.
definitely gonna book a night out with you.
Oh,
bring
definitely.
our team, and
Come
we'll
on
get
out,
it done. But
Right. I was gonna say we should probably roll up to Angeles with these guys.
you definitely are invited. We're gonna be there the 30th of this month
Oh, wow.
to the
To the
5th.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that sounds like a plan.
The
Maybe.
last week of our trip here, we're
We-
gonna be in AC. So
We
yeah,
got a
yeah.
big blowout the 31st, but we might be able to recover by the 5th.
We're trying to do the night to come would be Friday the 3rd. We're gonna rent a resort and have a
Okay,
big party at a small resort.
That sounds
So if
fantastic.
you guys can come up, but I've definitely had a great time talking with you. It's fucking amazing.
Thank you.
This guy is the king of Manila nightlife, in my opinion, and it's Manila Babies, the movement.
Yeah.
and we love it. So we'll put all your information in the drop down below so people can find you. And we look forward to doing a video with you out once we hire you for your service. We're looking forward to that.
That'll be crazy.
And dude, we're together, same
Yeah,
page.
appreciate you,
it, man.
appreciate you
Fucking
doing this.
awesome.
My pleasure, man. Definitely my
Yeah,
pleasure.
man.
Thanks so much for having me out, guys.
Oh,
You know what?
our pleasure.
We're definitely going to discuss the 3rd, like as if like it's not an event we don't want to miss.
No.
I've been watching these guys' videos and preparing for this, and like I said, they do it totally different than I do it, and you know they might have watched my videos to get started and learned a thing or two, but I'm definitely learning a thing or two from you guys too.
Appreciate it,
I
And,
appreciate that.
That's
Thank
the thing. Like, just because there's a ceiling in your niche doesn't mean you can't have guys that are going to be, you know, unicorns, basically.
Blow the fucking roof off.
Yes, blow the roof
you.
off.
That's it.
So,
All right.
All right, man. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
my